Welcome to the Nutrition Diva podcast, where we take a closer look at nutrition research, trends, and claims so that you can feel more confident about your food and nutrition choices. I'm your host, Monica Reinagel, and today we're taking a look at a new study on vitamin K2 as a potential preventive therapy for leg cramps. These leg cramps are a lot more common than you might realize. It's estimated that about half of us will experience them at some point during our lives, but as we get older, they often get more common for reasons that I talked about in my episode on magnesium as a treatment for leg cramps. Other things that can make leg cramps more likely are dehydration, prolonged sitting or standing, as well as certain medications, including some that are commonly prescribed for high blood pressure or high cholesterol. And magnesium is probably the most commonly suggested remedy for this very vexing condition, along with strategies like stretching before bed. And while that does seem to work for some, it's not universally effective, which is why there's bound to be some excitement about this new research. Before we get into the details of this latest study, let me just take a second to clarify how nocturnal leg cramps differ from restless leg syndrome. This is another very frustrating condition that can seriously ruin a good night's sleep. Nocturnal leg cramps are a sudden involuntary contraction of the muscles causing intense pain, and they usually happen in the muscles of the calf or the foot. And while they don't last very long, they can be enough to jolt you out of sleep and will often leave you feeling sore for a day or two afterward. Restless leg syndrome, on the other hand, is a neurological condition that creates an irresistible urge to move your legs. You might experience it as an uncomfortable tingling or a crawling sensation that can only be relieved by moving your legs. Unlike leg cramps, which are sudden and painful, restless leg syndrome is more of an ongoing, nagging discomfort that tends to get worse when you're resting, especially at night. And unlike cramps, which tend to go away after a few seconds or minutes, the only way to relieve restless leg syndrome is to move your legs, which, of course, isn't great for getting a good night's sleep. So while both conditions can mess with your sleep and cause a lot of frustration, they have different causes and they usually require different solutions. So with that, let's talk about this new research on vitamin K2. A recent study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, their internal medicine journal, tested the effects of vitamin K2 on 200 people who frequently experience these nighttime leg cramps. All of the folks in this particular study were 65 or older, and for the study, they took either 180 micrograms of vitamin K2 as a supplement or a placebo supplement for 8 weeks. And the results were pretty compelling. The group taking vitamin K saw a significant reduction in the frequency of their leg cramps, going from more than 2 incidents per week on average to less than 1. And even better, they reported that the cramps were less severe and they didn't last as long. And the placebo group, on the other hand, saw no meaningful change. So it wasn't actually a placebo, it was a nocebo, no effect. There were also no reported adverse effects in the group that were taking the vitamin K, and that's always an important consideration when we're evaluating a potential treatment, especially for something like leg cramps, where the main issue is discomfort rather than a serious health threat. And in fact, not only were there no adverse effects, there may well be some collateral benefits to vitamin K supplementation, as it has also been found to increase bone mineral density. So how do researchers think that vitamin K works to reduce leg cramps? Well, it may have to do with vitamin K's role in regulating calcium metabolism. This nutrient helps activate the proteins that steer calcium into the bones. And one theory is that this action also serves to direct calcium away from soft tissues like muscles, which might reduce the likelihood of those involuntary muscle contractions. So this is just one study, and we'd ideally like to see this confirmed by further studies in other populations. But it does suggest a promising new option for people who struggle with nighttime leg cramps, especially if other approaches like stretching or magnesium haven't been effective. Now, if you know me, you know that I always encourage you to get your nutrients from foods instead of supplements whenever possible. So you might be wondering, how hard would it be to get 180 micrograms of vitamin K, the dosage used in the study, from your diet? And actually, it might be pretty challenging. The average American adult does get about 120 micrograms of vitamin K from their diet, but most of this is vitamin K1, or phylloquinone, which is the form found in leafy greens and other vegetables. But the form of the vitamin used in this study was vitamin K2, or menaquinone, and this form of vitamin K is found mostly in fermented foods, in particular natto, which is a traditional fermented soybean dish that is commonly eaten in Japan. If you're not eating natto on a regular basis, I think you'd actually be hard-pressed to get anywhere close to the 180 micrograms of K2 that they used in this study. In other words, if you're interested in the therapeutic benefits of vitamin K2 for leg cramps, or for that matter, bone health, a supplement is probably your best option here. Fortunately, K2 supplements have a very good safety profile. Even so, you would want to check in with your doctor or your pharmacist before adding this to your regimen, especially if you are on any type of anticoagulant or blood thinning medication, because vitamin K plays a key role in blood clotting, and we don't want any interactions there. If you do decide with your doctor to add vitamin K2 to your regimen, you might want to take it with a meal. Vitamin K is a fat-soluble vitamin, and it may be better absorbed if it's taken with some food, which will contain some fat. And if you find it makes a difference for you in terms of your leg cramps, be sure to let me know. You can email me at nutrition@quickanddirtytips.com. You can also leave me a voicemail at 443-961-6206. If you'd like to find out about having me speak at your next live or virtual event, you can learn more at wellnessworkshere.com. Nutrition Diva is a Quick and Dirty Tips podcast. Our team includes Brandon Getchus, Nathan Sems, Davina Tomlin, Holly Hutchings, Morgan Christensen, Nate Hoops, and I want to thank all of them and mostly to thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.